In this week's special episode, Niamh is joined by David Burke of Workhuman to discuss what makes a better workday and how Workhuman helps companies create better workdays through employee recognition and engagement.
Hello, and welcome back to the Better Workday Podcast. How are you doing? Today, I am delighted to have the wonderful David Burke from Workhuman on as my special guest. Now, before I introduce David, I just want to tell you how I met him. And it was last year when he was speaking at a conference in Cork. And do you know what? I was just blown away by how much he actually cared, not only about company and what you do, which I know David's going to tell you about in a second, but about his team. Like standing up on that stage, you could feel it. And I just think we need more people like that in the world. You know, at this stage, I call them my Better Workday champions. And so when David agreed to come on the podcast, I was just delighted. So, David, welcome to the Better Workday Podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, great, Niamh. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Good. So, I mean, it's our second time officially meeting since that time back in Cork, and it is lovely to see you again. Do you want to start by telling people a little bit about you and a little bit about the company that you work for?
Sure. So if you saw my email signature, it would read David Burke, uncool dad, functional fitness head, blithesome by nature. And then it would say my job title, which is global head of talent acquisition and employer brand here at Workhuman. So we intentionally, display ourselves internally and externally to the world in that order. We like to put the person front and center. So that's who I am as a person. I guess what I do here, I work for Workhuman. Hopefully everyone has heard of us. We're an Irish founded global SaaS company. And essentially our products are in the HR tech space, but we help organizations build more human-centric workplaces. So we do that through a number of ways. The primary focus is on employee recognition and engagement, which helps, foster cultures of appreciation and belonging. And then we've got some super exciting product announcements coming in the next month or two, which we're very excited about, which is all focused on using the power of that recognition data and applying that to the skills world, the people skills, so all our human intelligence. So we're very excited about that.
Now that does sound exciting. So two things. So before we move on, functional fitness. So is that like CrossFitty stuff or what?
Yeah, so as I wouldn't say I'm a purist CrossFit. I think tend to welch out of the harder stuff. So yeah, but yeah, exactly. Throwing some weights around and getting out of breath on cardio machines.
And isn't it funny because I like to do a little bit of strength training and I'm a walky, runny person. I don't fully run. But isn't it true that like if you're having a tough day at work, because we are talking about having a better work day, just being able to go and lift a few weights and work up a bit of a sweat really does clear the head, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, I always played sports, but I had to finish playing football mid 40s, just the knee wouldn't take it anymore. And then I found this thing, and for me, it like for everybody, some movement, some exercise is an absolute necessary, life component. And for me, it burns away all the stress, all the tension, that sometimes you don't even know is there. So yeah, for me, it has become like a kind of core part of my week, and it's something I protect, at all costs in terms of calendar. So
That's good to know because I do talk an awful lot about boundaries and breaks and stuff that's important. So it's like I've told you to say this stuff, David. And the second thing was around the employee recognition. So um,
Mhm.
as we said before we started recording, I used to work in the tech sector for about 15 years. And does that mean then that when I wanted to, let's say somebody in another team was working on a project with me and they did a really good job, but they don't take a compliment very well. And I wanted to make sure everyone knew, mainly their manager knew that they did a good job. Is that how I'd use the software?
Yeah.
Do that stuff?
Yeah, so it's basically just a mechanism to allow everybody in the company to recognize each other. And that, like, can be about the work and oftentimes is, and it can be something small, seemingly inconsequential. Like I needed some help for preparing for a meeting, you helped me
Yeah.
out. Or it could be something big, you delivered a big piece of transformation or project work. But crucially, the product also allows people to celebrate, life events, new babies, homes,
Oh,
pets,
lovely.
through COVID, and then service milestones as well. So essentially, it's championing and celebrating the whole person and not just the work they do. So the what they do, but also how they do it and who they are as a person. So essentially, it's just fostering, better connections, better visibility. So people who are seen feel like they belong. And essentially that's, a core component, not the only component of, what the recognition product kind of delivers for business.
I'm starting to see a theme now. So it's work human, and the human is like a much bigger font. Yeah, the human is the big part. So I suppose that does lead me on to asking you the question I ask everybody in surveys, in rooms, and on the podcast. What does a better work day mean to you?
Well, it wasn't the M50 commute this morning. in in the rain, and I'm someone I always, whenever we have days like that, I always think, well, look, whoever's involved in those collisions having a worse day than me. So look, let's be thankful for the extra space and time on your own with no kids in the car. Is always appreciative of that. But I guess, like, for me, like, a better work day, I mean, this may be a bit cliche, but like, it's one where people, as a leader anyway, it's where people truly feel connected to the work and the people around them, and just they have a really strong sense of purpose, about what the organization's doing and their role in it. So, my part in that really is just, to remove any friction so that people can focus on, their meaningful contributions and not get bogged down in, getting the work advanced or having unclear priorities.
Yeah.
So I take that role very seriously. And then, the linchpin of that is just around psychological safety. So, obviously we're in an environment which is very aligned to that. But when people feel, valued, heard, and supported, they do their best work. So from it as a leader, that's the, better work day curating and being responsible for that is something I take very seriously. But personally, I guess for me, it's all of that. But it's fun. Like, yeah, anyone who knows me or has worked with me, you have to have fun. You have to enjoy the work you do. Like, you can come in and have weeks where you achieve a lot, but you didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think for me, if you don't enjoy it, it's not as powerful. You maybe have a week where you didn't quite get as much done, but you just really enjoyed it. And that's what brings you back and keeps the energy for, for the next challenge, the next cycle. So for me, it's a mix of all of that kind of very important philosophical stuff, but, grounded in just a fun experience for people.
I think you're right. And I love, like, one of my sayings, obviously, is to rediscover the joy in work. And people often don't realize I mean the joy in the work, is in the doing of the work and the working with people. And you're right, because it is fun. Like, obviously, it gets hard. There is pressure, there is stress. But if you're doing work that matters and if you're able to do it well, if you get on to people you work with, it can be great crack, and that can keep it going week to week. Like, so I couldn't agree with you more.
It's a lot less stressful when you're having fun. And sometimes the fun is in the stress. Like, people just look at each other and everyone just, has a moment of, shared humor and like, this is mad, isn't it? And like, let's just get back into it. So I think, that connection, and I guess the environment that allows people to have fun, and to be see, like, if you see people around the office, 'cause, especially as we're kind of coming back together and congregating more in person, like, if you look around the room and people are having some downtime and sharing a moment and some connection and some fun, that is time well spent.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that from a leadership perspective, it's important that that time is recognized as valuable and not, look, they're not doing the work. That is how the work gets done. So,
I think you're right. And it's, I suppose, a leader being a good role model in also taking the time to do that themselves so that
yeah.
the others see that it's important and it should be done. Um, and so, like, with that in mind, Dave, like, what you see are the barriers, the challenges in creating a better workday in today's workplace where a lot of people are maybe hybrid, some are maybe still remote, others are still trying to figure out what they are.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, we're all dealing with this in different ways, right? But I think that you've hit the nail on the head there. For me, the biggest challenge is that balance of flexibility with connection,
Yeah.
that balance of personalization and people wanting to do things in a very personalized, unique way, balanced with, what the organization needs, what the people around them need as well. Like, and hybrid and remote work are amazing models. I think we're all better off for an element of them being present. It has changed how people think about where work sits in their life priorities. So it does offer autonomy, but it does make it harder to foster kind of belonging and that informal collaboration and fun that we talked about. It's not impossible, but you have to be so much more intentional. So I think that challenge is one that we're, just working through as people, as organizations, and I don't think anyone is totally cracked it, or if they've cracked it for today, it doesn't mean that it's all for tomorrow either. So I think we constantly need to be looking at that. And then I think just at a to move away from that, because I know everyone talks about that. I think it's just the challenge of information overload now. Like our
Oh,
brains, we are not wired to process the amount of information that we get. We're bombarded constantly with emails, meeting requests, system changes, so that makes it really difficult for people to focus on like deep, impactful work. And I think, so if we, take those two things as threads, what kind of wraps around and weaves through that is the other challenge of leadership alignment. I think, leaders within businesses need to be super aligned on, what's important for the business and the people. And then how do we reinforce behaviors that contribute to a better workday? So, as you've said two or three times already, really championing and leading that change in a positive way visibly for people so they see it's okay.
yeah. And there's just a few things on that just to touch on. Like in your first point on the hybrid piece and the connection, like I've been working in hybrid setups for most of my career since 2007. I was fortunate to be in IT team, so I got access to the dongle back when it was a dongle to work from home. But what was interesting was I go into the office a lot, but if I was ever feeling low or anxious, depressed, I always chose to work from home more. And I grew. So the times that I needed the social interaction the most were obviously the times where naturally I wanted to stay at home on my own. And
Interesting.
yeah, it is because obviously the day I would then have to go in, when the lads next to me and like Dave or Louise, whatever, would say, "Are you all right, Niamh?"
Yeah.
They see me, and I do worry about people. And I am, I suppose, a bit of a mother hen that way. I do worry about people, withdrawing too much and no one knocking on their door, that kind of way. And then in terms of the information overload, I don't know if you found this, Dave, but especially when I was experimenting with ChatGPT in the early days before I figured out how to use it to support the workday,
Mm.
was almost like an information, like adrenaline hit. So like I'd ask it one thing, then it pop it out and it'd say at the end, "Do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, go on." And it'd give me more information. "Do you want to do this?" "Sure, keep on, give me information." And at the end of it, I'd have reams of information, but I'd be overloaded. I wouldn't know what to do with it. My head would be fried and I wouldn't be able to focus on the next thing. So I think
Yeah.
absolutely right. We do have to start looking at AI, but also notifications, and also the fact that we have all these asynchronous communication tools, but we're not communicating asynchronously. So we're using it for real-time conversation when they were designed for non-real-time information.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think definitely with the like GPT engines, they're the foundational skills about how to use them, you know, uh, productively and in a way that doesn't, as you said, saturate you with information. Like if you like what you can achieve with those tools in terms of the information you get back is like 4, 5, 6, 10 hours internet browsing, which you would never do. You would never want that much information. You quickly learn to go to the right places, ask the right questions, and get the right information in a manageable way to action. So I think, yeah, you can get drowned in that if you don't quickly learn. And there's lots of free online resources out there, but learning, good prompt engineering techniques, and how to manage that information retrieval, I think is a key skill today.
I couldn't agree more. Now, I want to move on because I think we could talk all day actually. So, and you've touched already in terms of how your company helps other people create a better workday through recognition. But what I'm interested in really is how do you create a better workday for each other as a team within your organization? So within your team, David, what do you do?
And so I think like not to go back to the company and the product, but essentially we are super users of the platform. So we use it exponentially more than customers will. So those behaviors are reinforced. So what that means is people are constantly recognizing and championing the things around them that have a positive impact. But on a micro level within the teams that I support, I think it goes back to that those principles that we talked about at the start. It's just making sure that people have the space to be themselves on a good day, but also on a bad day.
Yeah.
And that, that when we're together, those connections matter and we have fun and people come away going, that was worthwhile. That connection time today was worthwhile.
Yeah.
And we're kind of fairly, I'm probably the worst on, keeping the meeting on track. I do like if things, we've objectives and we want to get stuff done. We want everyone to come away with actions and plans, but like there needs to be space in the time for or in the meeting for conversations. Needs to be space for connections. So I think we just create an environment where people can be who they are on a good day and a bad day, and that when we are together, people feel better for it.
I love that. And I think I'm against speedy meetings because I find that they actually cram too much work and not enough chat into it. So, David, I feel like I could talk to you all day, but obviously, I like to keep these episodes short and practical. So, with that in mind, what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who wants to create a better workday for themselves, first of all, and then maybe for their team if they're a
Okay,
leader?
I'm gonna try and keep this short because I tell you, not getting accused of talking too much. But I think it's just like in essence, it's distilling everything that we've been talking about here. It's be deliberate about what matters.
Yeah.
We're like understand what matters to you. Like I'm a why person. Like purpose and meaning in the work is the most important thing. So just find out what matters to you and be deliberate about it. So whether you're leading a team or you're an individual contributor, just focus on the things that make work more engaging. Recognition, clarity, human connection. They're the things for me, but like figure out what those things are for you. And like, a great workday, it doesn't happen by accident. It's built through, continuous efforts and creating an environment where people feel valued, supported, and empowered. And you'll get the best work and the best experience when that's in place.
I think I'm going to put that in bold and inverted commas that a great workday doesn't happen by accident because you're absolutely right, Dave. I couldn't have said it better myself. Listen, it's been an absolute joy having you on the Better Workday podcast. Thank you for championing the Better Workday in what you do and through your company. And until next time, Dave, stay well and have a better workday.
Thanks so much, Niamh. Have a great day. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. The Better Workday podcast is about helping you have a better workday, so we'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. You can find our social media details as well as any references from this episode in the show notes.